have you been in Greece?
No, I really want to go. I really want to go.
Oh, I'm sure that you'll love it.
I told you I have friends who are traveling there now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'd love to go. Well, and I have relatives there. I want to do it.
Do you have relatives there?
Well, sort of. I mean, I have my wife's cousin married a Greek woman, and but we're all very friendly. So she's like, come and see us, and I want to do it.
Oh, yeah. Where would you like to go?
Well, I'd like to go to Athens and Ephesus. I mean, I'd like to go everywhere. I've never been anywhere. I'd like to see the islands. I'd like to go to Crete. I'd like to.
Yeah, they're fabulous. They're fabulous. I'm sure that you'll have a great time. Are you familiar with the Greek theater, the Greek playwrights, the Greek?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Have you got a favorite one, maybe from the ancient Greek tragedy thing?
Probably the Oresteia, I think. It's just fascinating. I would love to go and see where that was originally, done. It would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I like Aristophanes. I mean, I like the frogs a lot.
Yeah, they're funny.
And the clouds, yeah.
What about Lysistrata?
Yeah, that's great. It's great. I've never seen a good production of it, though. Are they produced often in Greece?
Yeah.
But
very often, especially during the summer.
Do modern Greek speakers understand ancient Greek?
No, we don't actually act in ancient Greek. We act in modern Greek, and there are many adaptations in modern Greek.
Right.
Most of the tragedies and the comedies that are presented in Epidaurus or in other theaters in Greece are adapted in modern society, modern Greek, modern way of thinking. Because we have many similarities with the ancient Greek culture, of course, that's our origins, but we also have many differences.
Of course.
Yeah, and we are very familiar with the American culture.
Yeah.
We see American films, we watch American TV shows, we listen to the American music. Are you familiar with the Greek culture?
Not really. Mm-hmm. Greek food, that's about all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about the theater here in the States? Do people go to theater now?
I think in New York, actually, the theater is pretty strong. We've had a good couple of seasons, and in general, I think that the New York theater is quite healthy. It's always popular to say that the theater is, it's known as the fabulous invalid, and that it's dying, but the American theater seems strong to me. I mean, especially whenever I go out into regional theaters in small cities around the U.S., I'm always impressed by how many talented theater artists are working there and how seriously they're working. I mean, almost every small city in America has good theater, really dedicated, skillful designers, writers, directors, actors. And in New York in particular, I think there's been one really healthy development, which is the rise of major non-profit theaters that run Broadway houses. Mm-hmm. That's been great because it means that new plays can be produced on Broadway without commercial pressures. So, Manhattan Theater Club and the Roundabout and Lincoln Center, they produce these plays, and you can have a 10-week run or a 12-week run or a 14-week run of challenging material. It doesn't have to have huge movie stars in it, but it can be on Broadway and attract large Broadway audiences, and that's pretty new. I mean, that's probably only about 10 years old, and it's really great. I've benefited from it.
Can the artists make money from the theater? I know that in Greece it's very difficult to make money from the theater. Most artists do a lot of things to make ends living. What about here?
It's extremely difficult. I mean, I think there's probably a handful of people who do it, and many of them are in musical theater. The old saying that you can't make a living, but you can make a killing is still true, I think. And most people who make a living as dramatic writers are also writing for movies, and they're writing for TV shows, and hopefully writing plays as well. But no, it's very difficult to make a living.
Do you make a living?
Off and on. I mean, I have. There have been points in time where I've only had to write plays, and there have been other times when I've had to earn money doing other things, doing other kinds of writing. Mm-hmm.
You've written for the film industry too, and you directed a movie film too. How can a playwright write for the screen and the opposite? I think it's two different things.
They're
totally.
very different, but it's still dramatic writing. I mean, it's still writing dialogue for actors and trying to tell stories through dramatic action. So a lot of the same rules apply, but I wasn't prepared for how different movie directing is from theater directing. I mean, they just have nothing in common as far as I can tell. You know, the thing that I thought of as being directing, which is working with an actor and figuring the scene out and talking about how to play it, is about 1/100th of what you spend your time doing when you're on a movie set. I mean, it's the thing you do if you have a minute from everything else. But it was still really fascinating. I'd love to do it again.
Yeah, I'm sure you will if you want to.
Yeah.
But what about the TV business and the movie business? I've heard you somewhere in the internet on an interview that you gave that people turn on the TV and forget to go to the cinema. People watch TV and do not watch so many movies.
I think the TV has replaced movies as the dominant filmed entertainment in America for sure. And you know, the most interesting work, the best writing is on TV. It's not in the cinema. I think that in a way the studios have pretty much given up making interesting movies. They make superhero movies, and all of that creative energy is now on TV. It's a great time for television.
What about you? You watch TV, you watch movies, you go to the theater. What do you prefer?
I like to see as much as I can. I miss the movies. I love going to the movies. I'm a Tony voter, so I see a lot of Broadway shows. I would like to see more off-Broadway shows, but I have to see all these Broadway things. I'm not a huge binge watcher of TV. I mean, I don't consume massive amounts of serialized drama just because I don't have time. But I'm omnivorous. I like to see it and do as much as I can.
If you had time, would you watch TV shows?
Probably not. I mean,
why not?
Even the shows. This is for me. But even the shows that I've really loved, like Breaking Bad, a couple seasons is enough for me. You know, after that, I want something different. I want to move on to a different set of characters. I can't stay with it for 60 or 70 or 80 episodes. I just don't have the interest.
Mm-hmm. You're a Pulitzer Prize winner, okay? This is huge. I imagine we don't have Pulitzer Prizes in Greece, but I'm sure that we know Pulitzer, and it's something amazing. And you got this Pulitzer Prize at the early age of 31? 31, yes. How was your life before the Pulitzer Prize? How was your life after the Pulitzer Prize? It's been some years since you got it.
Yeah,
how has your life changed?
I mean, the boring answer is my life really hasn't changed. You know, I'm married to the same person I was married to before. I have the same friends, but it's it's a kind of credential that you carry around for the rest of your life. You know, and if my plane out of here crashed tomorrow and it gets Williamstown, my obituary would say Pulitzer Prize winner. You know, so it's like a degree, that you carry around with you for the rest of your life, and it hopefully will give me opportunities. It has given me opportunities that I would never have had without it. So sometimes you feel like it's ridiculous. You get all this great stuff just because 3 people or 10 people in a room decided this year to give you this prize, but life isn't fair.
Is it still in a drawer, in a box somewhere in your?
I'm wearing it right now.
Oh.
Yes, it is in a drawer.
Okay.
It is in a drawer.
Okay, you're a quiet person. You're a low-profile person. I've written up your bio is so small. Are you? It's your decision to be a low-profile person. It's something that comes from inside of you.
Low profile?
Yeah. Do you want to be humble?
No, I mean, I want to do my work. That's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in doing the best work I can and doing as much of it as I can. So I've never been interested in creating any kind of public persona for myself. It just doesn't, I'm not interested. I'm interested in working. So, but I like I like going to parties. I like going to openings. I like all that stuff. I enjoy it. I enjoy my friends in the theater, and I enjoy, hanging out with movie stars and all the stuff that you get to do once in a while. But it's not the most important thing to me, certainly.
Mm-hmm. Can you combine family life with party life and?
Yes, the way I do it, yes. Yes, no, I'm not a big partier. I mean, I'm not a...
Yes, because I know that playwrights are loners, are people that spend a lot of time with themselves and they want to focus on their job.
Well, you have to. I mean, you just have to sort of spend a lot of your time sitting at a desk and fiddling around with your pages. Yeah. So that doesn't leave... I mean, the reason I like directing so much is because it does get me away from my desk, and it allows me to be social and allows me to be in a room working with other people, and I really like that.
What was your first direction? You directed in theater, you directed a film. What was your first direction?
I directed theater when I was in college and just starting out, and I didn't have other directors. So I would direct my own material with my friends as the actors, and then as I was able to work with better and more established directors, I was eager to do that, and I really like working with other directors on my plays. I don't like directing my own plays, but what I have discovered that I love is directing classics, especially, and new plays, and that I think it helps me become a better playwright. And I just enjoy the work for its own sake, and I have wonderful relationships with actors, especially in New York, who I've worked with again and again. We form kind of family and work together and put on shows.
You write playwrights that have, a scholarly tinge, something that is scientific. Where do you get inspiration from? And how you're an English literature, you studied that. You haven't studied architecture, or you haven't studied mathematics. Where do you get inspiration from, and how difficult is for an English literature ex-student to write those kinds of plays?
It's not difficult. I mean, part of what I enjoy about playwriting is that kind of journalistic part of it, where you get to learn about something new, and you go and you meet people and you hang out with these weirdos, and you get to know how their minds work, and you experience what you can. So I like that, and I certainly I've never set out to say, like, I want to write plays that have scholarly subjects, or I want to write plays that make reference to this or that, and some of my plays don't. It's just it's usually just that you get interested in something, and an idea stays with you, or a topic or a subject stays with you, and you get intrigued by the idea of people in that world wrestling with some problem, and then a play comes out of it.
Proof was a major success. It was a major success in Greece. It was staged in 2003 and had sold out performances. It went pretty great. Now that you see this play that gave you the Pulitzer Prize, would you make changes? Would you adjust it differently?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I've had, in the last couple of years there have been some revivals, and I've had to think about that. Like, do I want to change things? And I think I'm older than I was when I wrote it, and I think I'm more experienced. But I think if you start down that road, you'd never stop. And it's better just to spend your energy writing a new play than fiddling with something old. So the revivals that have happened, I have made teeny tiny changes, like instead of email, there's a reference to Twitter, and because when I wrote Proof, email was quite new. So for him to say, like, we're worried about emails going around, that was interesting. And now it's like, do people even use email? I don't know. But no, otherwise I've tried to resist making any changes. It has to be what it was then.
What is your favorite play?
Uncle Vanya.
Oh, you like Chekhov. Okay, he's European.
Sure.
Okay, so...
I think Chekhov is most playwrights' favorite playwright. I mean, I think he's the playwright that is most revered among people who write plays.
Oh, why? Why is that?
I think it's because at least for me, it's because his technique is the most mysterious. It's and hard to imitate. And so you study and watch him over and over, trying to understand how it is that he gets the effects that he does, and you never quite understand it. So there's a kind of like fascination with the genius, the unique genius of it.
But what about young playwrights? I think that there are so many playwrights. Thank you. I think that there are so many playwrights right now. What makes play being distinguished from all the plays that are written each year, every year in countries all over the world? What does play make it so powerful, like Acompagna?
It's a tough question. I mean, usually I think at the heart of most plays that have an impact is some kind of real desire on the part of the writer to get at something that bothers them, to really dig into something that truly troubles them as a person. And whether it's directly autobiographical or whether they've transmogrified it into something else. You know, I saw this fascinating play about a year ago. Was one of my favorite plays that I've seen recently, called Mr. Burns. Have you heard about that?
No, Mr. Burns.
And it was at Playwrights Horizons. It's by Anne Washburn, who's a young playwright, and it's about The Simpsons, essentially. And it's about, in the future, after the apocalypse, some of the only knowledge that has survived the catastrophe is the memory of a few episodes of The Simpsons. And people in the future are trying to preserve that knowledge. And the play goes far, hundreds of years into the future, and you see how like theater companies and other scholars try to reconstruct these Simpsons episodes, and it's really profound. And it made me think that Anne Washburn had some deep feelings about how we pass knowledge on from generation to generation, how we lose things, how we preserve things.
That's true.
So you know, you never know where the interesting thing is going to come from.
That's true, because we have a thing with the ancient Greeks, and that always comes up. Okay, we have a legacy. Is it the right one?
Right, and it's a tip. I mean, we have like the tiny fraction of those plays. And how do we know? How do we know if what we have is typical or not typical, or it's not? I mean, it's a random selection from the deep past, and we don't really know what. We make guesses, but that's all we can do.
Yeah, I've read something else that was very interesting. My fantasy, you say, would be that any public school student could walk up to any play and buy a ticket for the same price as a movie. Why? Why do you say that?
Well, theater should be as accessible as possible. I haven't taught much, but when I've taught, it's been to high school students. I've taught in New York City public schools, and they love making theater. They love acting. Kids love doing this. But the problem is most of them haven't seen very many plays. Most of them have seen movies and TV.
Because they're expensive.
Yeah, you can't. Who can go to a play? I mean, it's crazy.
Even off Broadway.
Even off Broadway. I mean, I think New York City school kids sometimes get taken to things, and there are student matinees and things like that. But I mean, the healthiest thing that the American theater could do would be to just throw the doors open. But of course, that's difficult.
Mm-hmm. But how could the actors be paid, and the playwrights, and the directors, and the producer, and all this kind of stuff?
Subsidy.
What's that?
Subsidy.
What's that?
Government paying for it, which is what they do in every other country except ours.
I know that they used to do it in our country, but now they don't.
No, I mean, subsidy works, I mean, the British theater is as strong as it is because they subsidize.
What would you, advise a young playwright or an older playwright to do? That you were a successful playwright.
How do you do it?
How you do it, and what would you advise him to do, or her?
If you're young, and really if you're old, the way you build a career is to form a company with your friends and to put on plays with your friends and self-produce. I think almost all careers in the theater come out of that, directly or indirectly. And sometimes someone will say, who's just gotten out of graduate school or college, will say, I don't know where to go. I don't know if I should go to LA or New York or Chicago. And my answer is, You should go where your friends are. You go where the people who you want to make theater are, and start putting on shows. And that's how careers get started. You know, they don't get started by mailing your plays to a stranger at an office. It almost never works.
Would you like to say something additional?
Hello, Greece. I want to come see you.
Okay, we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
I love it. Thanks.
Thank you.